9th of September 1945. That's the first half of the last century, in case you don't know. I reported to the Dillasall Brothers Junior Novitiate in Castletown, County Laois in Ireland. Kevin reported the same day. Basically, in Junior Novitiate, we were getting on with our secondary school education, but we had somewhere or somehow given, or were perceived to have given, an indication we might be interested in the brother's life. So basically, we're going to secondary school education and a little bit of exposure to the brother's life. We did 2 years there. At the end of the 2 years, apparently, they considered us suitable for the next stage, which was going to the novitiate, receiving the habit of the brothers, which I'm not wearing. And that was in July 1947. After 2 months, we were invested in the brothers' role, and we started our novitiate for exactly 1 year, which we completed on the 7th of September 1948. We then made our first vows, valid for 1 year. This whole process of formation and training was in stages, so if you wanted to continue, it was not indefinitely at that time. It's only much later you took a final commitment, normally at the age of 25. Because during the novitiate period, Brother Kevin and myself had indicated a willingness to serve on the missions, we next went to St. John's College in Berkshire, in England, to prepare for the Oxford School Certificate O-levels. We spent 2 years there. We got through our exams very comfortably, and we were then sent to St. Mary's College of Education in London, which was a constituent of the London University Faculty of Education. It has now become a full university in its own rights. And there, myself and Kevin underwent 2 years of teacher training. We graduated in July 1952. We did come to know then that we would be sent to Malaysia, Singapore area. And after a home holiday with our families later on, we both set sail for Malaysia on the 19th of October 1952. We were on the SS Corfu for 19 days. We arrived in Penang. I was assigned to St. Xavier's Penang. Brother Kevin was assigned to St. John's in Kuala Lumpur. And by the way, if you look at the mass book, you'll find that thing has been omitted. But that was his first assignment to St. John's at the November 1952. In other words, we had by this date spent 2, 3, 5, 7 years together. Now, I was very struck by Father's sermon, as it came towards the end, where he actually gave a wonderful portrayal of the person Kevin was. And I remember him. He was laid back, not in any negative sense. He never seemed get disturbed about anything. He was always extremely patient. He had a deep, wry sense of humor. And I think if you weren't listening carefully, you could miss much of the wisdom that he shared. He was a very physically active person throughout his life. He began in games in Ireland when he would have played Irish game of Gaelic football and hurling. We moved to England, we would have taken up soccer and rugby, but not in a very significant way. He came to Malaysia, he took up basketball, kept his soccer going, and always kept very, very fit. He's a person I never knew to be sick. As he got older in life, he took up more dignified games like golf. And squash. Squash is a very demanding game, but he played it for quite a number of years, particularly after he came to Singapore. He never gave the impression that he was under stress. He always seemed to be able to handle every occasion without getting excited or without getting too worked up. And that is very striking, because after he retired in Singapore, he spent some years here, and then he moved back to Ireland. He settled in Dublin, and he was helping out in the school with weaker students, who were parents coming in to help take the students out of regular class and give them individual attention. He organized that, and he worked at it for quite some years. He was also recognized as somebody who was always willing to help, to work. Older brothers in the community who wanted to go here or there, he always went the first one with a hand up to get the car and drive it. He became known as the one who was ever ready to go to the airport. The community was not too far from the airport. Pick people up coming back from trips, sending people on trips. Always somebody who was helpful. And it was there, during that time, that we became aware that all was not well. And it happened in an extraordinary way. A man who had been going to the airport, delivering people and collecting them, he was very late coming back one day, and when somebody asked him, he said, "I lost my way." Now, we thought that was impossible. And it happened again. And then he was advised to get medical attention. The early stages of Alzheimer's was diagnosed. After this, sometime later, he was moved to the Brothers Nursing Home in Castletown, County Laois. It is an excellent facility. It's purpose-built. It's manned by professionals, and they take wonderful care of the brothers. And we all know that it's really something that we can be very proud of, that the sick, ailing brothers get the very best of attention. He was very happy there. He did some work around for many years and kept reasonably active. When I would go home on holidays, I'd go there, and even though the ailment was, getting worse, he still knew who I was, and he'd big smile on the face and asked me a few questions, but he could not sustain a conversation. That condition worsened very much over the last 2 years. When I was there in July this year, as Brother Thomas would know also, He was mobile, but he needed somebody with him. But I noticed every morning he came to Mass and he had his Mass book and he seemed to understand exactly what was happening and he followed. After morning Mass, this custom of going for a cup of coffee, sit around and chat. And when I go to him, his face would light up. He seemed to recognize me. Because we know many people suffering from severe Alzheimer's do not recognize even their own family. But he'd say, "Oh, you're back." And the next day I'd turn up and he'd say, "Oh, you're back again." Unfortunately, that was in July into early August this year. A month or so later, he had a fall in his room. He was hospitalized. They found that he had fractured a femur. And of course, that's not a good thing at a person of his age and his health. He spent about a month in hospital, and then he came back to the nursing home, where he passed away a short time later. Now, he was a friend to many of you, and I thought I'd just share these few ideas with you, so as you would know what his final days were like. Not only was he known and loved so well here in St. Joseph's in Singapore, it was much the same when he served in St. Xavier's Penang and St. John's Gale. He was lovingly remembered by a lot of students, and that tells us a lot. I think other people are going to speak, so I better give them a chance. I'm just passing a message to Brother Paul. I said, "You put me up here without notice, now I'll get my own back on that."